Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the Waterman and D-Train Show.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the Waterman and D-Train Show.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
That's just a word to the wise. It's the Waterman and D-Train and Gordon show tonight, which I cannot blame Dave the Waterman for because due to some technical issues last night, we weren't able to go live. But I didn't want to force our regular listeners to have to wait a week to get another show, so here we are in an abbreviated edition of the Waterman and D-Train show. I am one of your hosts, Don Abernathy, aka D-Train, and joining us live from Las Vegas, as always, is Tom McDonald.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are
easily offended, then you probably should go. What's up, Gordon? How you doing tonight, fella?
I'm doing all right. I am doing all right. Yourself?
I gotta tell you, I've just spent like 3 hours watching not Life PD, but the spin-off Life PD cop cameras where it's basically cops.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that. I have actually seen that. That's usually what I turn on when I'm getting ready to crash. Evidently, that can make me go to sleep real quick.
You know, I'm watching these morons run from the cops, and I'm like, who does that? Who runs from the cops?
People want to get shot.
Well, then the fine producers of this program decided to put up a statistic at the bottom that said FBI stats say that 25% of people who run from the cops tend to get away. I'm like, why would you put that stat on the screen? All you're going to do now is encourage people to run from the goddamn police.
Oh, yeah. Now there's going to be wagers on it with their buddies.
Well, not anymore. Obviously, not all the police departments have this technology, but are you familiar with the Star Trek GPS?
I am not.
This is some James Bond stuff. This is the coolest thing ever. I'm like watching this. Okay, so I think it's in Oklahoma, right? This guy's getting ready to, he took off, but he's kind of stuck in traffic. And now, before they showed the Star Attack, they're showing another place who their department's policy is they do not chase them unless they have to, and they will not do pit maneuvers because I guess there's too much risk of the car spinning out and hurting an innocent bystander or other cars on the road, right? Which makes sense.
Or lawyers are involved and said, we don't want to get sued.
So this department has this thing called Star Trek GPS, and this is some James Bond next level stuff. Okay, so this truck is like trying to take off but stuck in traffic. The cop pulls up right to it, like maybe 4 inches away, and he hits a button on his dashboard, and there must be like a air-powered air cannon in the grill. It launches this tube about the size of my soda can with a magnet and like super sticky crap on it, and it has a GPS in it. And so he launches it and then backs off, turns off his lights. The guy hauls ass. 20 minutes later, they just show up at his house, say, "Come on, you're coming with us."
That's great. So something from the movies has actually made it to real life.
It's insane. It's literally the size of a can of soda, and there's a magnet in it, but there's a sponge with like a bunch of sticky stuff. He launched 2 of them. One of them bounced off. The other one just stuck right to it, and he just called off the pursuit, and they got a couple of guys and went and found the guy.
I wonder how much a system like that costs.
I don't know, but then they showed him reloading, and they just basically put a new canister in there, and I'm sure it probably has like a, I would assume there's probably like an air tank in its trunk, kind of like when you have air ride on your trucks or your ambulances.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously it has to refill, and I'm sure, now obviously they didn't say it's an air cannon, but I'm just trying to do the logistical math. That's the easiest way to do it. Just have like a t-shirt cannon under the hood of your car, and just put an air tank and a compressor in the trunk and call it a life.
Who knows? That could have came to be over a couple of cases of beer and a t-shirt cannon.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you seen El Camino?
Yes, I have.
I've got some thoughts on El Camino.
Okay, let's be gentle so we don't give any spoilers away, because not everybody watches things when they first come out.
No, it's a spoiler-free, and part of this is on me.
Okay.
I really should have binged Breaking Bad before going into it. Because
didn't you watch like the 2.5-minute recap at the beginning?
No, I screwed up. I went ahead and hit through it because my lovely wife said, "Hey, I remember everything." I'm like, "Well, I don't."
Did you forget the part where he is in like the pit or something?
Yeah, it took me. It took me a little bit to kind of catch up. Once I did, there was only a couple of things that kind of just took me out of it, and it was the age, how some of the actors have.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. And now, it's funny, as you're typing now, I'm literally typing in Breaking Bad final season. I wanted to see how long it has been. It's only been like 3 years, right?
6.
It's
Try
been 6 years?
Yeah.
Because
And Jesse Plemons has aged quite a bit. He's put on a lot
that's
of
the
weight.
blonde guy. That looks like Captain Kirk, right?
The redheaded guy?
Yes.
Yeah, he was he played on what was it, Fargo also for a season.
Well, interestingly enough, he looks like Captain Kirk, but have you seen Black Mirror at all?
I have not.
Black Mirror is a serial. I watched like 4 episodes. Think of it in the way of Tales of the Crypt, as in it's not the shows aren't interlaced. It's a one-off. Like every episode's different storyline. It usually revolves around technology, right?
Yes.
Well, the one episode he was in, he was a computer programmer. And you're familiar with the old theory from the 90s, which the Matrix was based off of, which is the concept of uploading, correct?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
For those of you who don't know, Discovery Channel did a huge thing on it in the 90s with a lot of 90s graphics that I had later taken, recorded it, and put techno music on it. But that's neither here nor there. The whole concept of uploading, and that's what the movie The Matrix is based off of, is scientists have created, long before Sims, long before Half-Life or any of these games, the theory was if you create an exact replica of Earth in a hard drive, as far as science is concerned, if it's exact replica, it's the same. And the concept is since all of our brains run off of electricity and brain waves, that once you die or right before you die, that they can take your brain waves, upload it to a hard drive, and you would live forever in this world. And that's kind of the theory behind the Matrix. That's why, if for those you can't figure out why Neo was able to do all the things he could do, is because he was a computer programmer and he realized he was in a computer in live action. And so much like the kids who hack video games, if you know you're there and you know what you're doing, you can make your avatar do whatever you want. And so essentially in that movie, they're all avatars because they're not physically there. And if you're writing the computer program to make your video game do whatever you want, that's how they're able to bend bullets, yada, yada, yada. So, and
they are actually working on, I believe it's called with part of it with neuromesh. They're actually working on that technology now to basically have our minds be able to be uploaded and then we live forever. Although one could say, are you really living forever?
Correct. And so we say all that to get back to this. In the episode of Black Mirror that the cat from Breaking Bad and El Camino is on, the one who's gained so much weight over the last few years, and Pinkman put on some pounds himself too.
Yeah, he was looking a little lollipop-like in the head.
But anyhow, in that particular episode of Black Mirror, that cat is a computer programmer, and in the show, it's not Star Trek, but it's their universe's equivalent. And he's a big Trekkie, for the lack of a better word. Even though it's not Star Trek, I forget the name. But in his computer, he created a starship. Basically, he created his replica of their version of the Enterprise. And then people who did him wrong in real life, he would somehow, because it's only an hour-long episode, so they don't really get too deep into it. But anyhow, he gets their DNA or whatever, and he uploads them into the computer. And so now they're stuck there. And he has the ability through VR to come and go as he wants. And interestingly enough, because he does look like Captain Kirk, that was the role he played in that show. And so, yeah, that's the first thing that bumped me too. Is like how it was insane to me that like I said, even Aaron Paul, he had gained a lot of weight, and a lot of them have.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, that's part of aging. And I'm actually surprised that maybe it wasn't in their budget to do some of that de-aging technology.
Or maybe they just didn't care.
Or they just didn't care.
Now, interestingly enough, Robert Foster.
Okay.
For those of you who followed look, we're not going to give anything away about El Camino, but if you didn't see the last season of Breaking Bad, that's on you. Robert Foster in the last season of Breaking Bad, he's the cat whose job it is to get people out of town. He's the guy you call, kind of like the wolf in Pulp Fiction was the guy you call when you need to get red bodies. The character Robert Foster played is the guy you call when you need to get out of town, when you're a fugitive, when you're on the run, you need to get to Mexico, Canada, wherever. He looked dramatically different.
Yes, the age definitely was hitting him.
Well, did you see what broke today?
I did not.
Robert Foster, resurgent Oscar nominee from Jackie Brown, dies at 78. So the guy dies 2 days after the last project he was on premieres, or 3 days. The medium cool actor also starred for David Lynch in Mulholland Drive and Twin Peaks after Quentin Tarantino resurrected his career. Long story short, because this is a whole story. He had, I believe, he had cancer. which would explain why in El Camino his hair was so thin. I mean, you could see his scalp, and he looked horrible in that show, but now we know why. He was dying of cancer, and yet he still did that last project.
And good on him. I'm glad he did. But at the end of the day, I think it wrapped everything up well.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't an action-packed. Not a whole hell of a lot of things happened, but it definitely...
The first hour kind of was a little... It was a slow burn. It was a little snoozy for me. Actually, I literally fell asleep, I think.
Well, that's kind of his MO. I mean, I really, really, really wanted to like Better Call Saul.
Yes.
I put in 2 seasons, and I'm just waiting, and I'm waiting, and the burn was just too slow. I lost interest. I might go back and try to revisit it, but I lost interest, and it's sad.
I'm still watching it. Actually, I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying the slow burn, but I think it was a pretty stressful week for me last week, and a lot of it I do to myself at work. Instead of creating drama outside, creating drama because evidently that runs in our family. I create it at work. I push myself, and it's the way I push myself to do faster, to do more, to be more efficient. So
to the edge.
Anyway, I think my mind was in a place where I needed more of an action pack or something to fucking laugh at.
At night I can't sleep. No, I'm sorry. Every time you say a word, I'm thinking of rap lyrics, and my mind's playing tricks on me. Ghetto Boys.
There you go.
This year Halloween fell on a weekend. Me and Ghetto Boys are trick-or-treating. Real quick, because people are asking on Facebook, Dave is not here, to no fault of his own. He has to do a work project tonight. Last night we couldn't do a show. My internet was too in and out. And so I had to pull an audible, 2 hours before we went live. And I said, hey guys, something came up. We can't do the show tonight. We'll aim for tomorrow. And Dave tried. I even tried to get him to do a phone call in tonight. He just wasn't able to do it. So I told him not to worry about it. Gordon and I will do a short episode. So good news for you guys. This will not be a 2-hour-long episode. We'll try to keep it under an hour. And so no, this isn't Dave's fault. Hey, we are the consistently inconsistent podcast. But even though we're consistently inconsistent, I understand the importance of providing content for your dedicated listeners, the OG 500. You hear that? No longer the OG 5, the OG 500. Gordon, you asked me back a while back. No, this has nothing to do with the amount of listeners we have. Well, it did back in the beginning when we came up the OG 5. The OG 5 was always the people who followed us over here from the beginning. And I jokingly said, well, I'll call them OG 500 once one of our pages gets to 500. Our Facebook page is sadly stuck at 477, but we love all 477 of you. But my Instagram page did finally hit 500. Now I'm at 515. So I jokingly said we'll do it. So now you guys are the OG 500. Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for supporting the show through Patreon. Let's just get some of these plugs out of the way right now. Patreon, if you want to support the show, if you want to provide support, all the money goes to providing better equipment. We finally got Gordon's volume control taken care of, but now I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. I'm not sure why, but we'll deal with that. The video stream's still going kind of crappy, but anyhow, you guys want to support the show, go to d-410.com, click on the link on the right. We got 3 tiers. One's $1. It's $1 a month. Not like they're going to take $12 out of your account tomorrow, which even if they did, it shouldn't hurt you. But it is, in fact, $1 a month. We have the $3.50 plan and the $7.50 a month plan. If you sign up for the $7.50 a month, after month 2, I will send you a free t-shirt of your liking. While you're at d-410.com, go ahead and click on the Amazon link. Say that on your desktop or in your toolbar, and we will get that sorted. And anytime you click on that, that'll help us too. And as we like to say, when you click on that link, it will not cost you but they will send us a penny. And once it gets to a certain level, we can actually withdraw that and go to buy more stuff. The next thing on our wish list, or shopping list, if you will, is new microphones. We got a new mixing board, which came in great, but the new microphones will be up next. And as always, the last one really, this episode of the Waterman and D-Train show, or as Gordon and I like to call it whenever Dave's not here, the What's in Your Head show, is brought to you by our friends at Computers. Computers has been providing IT for all Southwest Florida for the last, since 2004. Give them a call. They can help you with all your IT work. Give them a call, 239-283-1120. And if you have computer issues and you're out of state, as long as your internet works, they can log in and help you. Or if you're like our friend Martin Mazika in New York, he's actually mailing us down some tablets to work on. So if you want to pay the freight, we'll happily work on your stuff if you want to mail it to us. If you can't find an IT guy that's worth a damn in your town, give us a hit up and we will arrange something. Give us a call, 239-283-1120, or hit them up on Facebook or Twitter. That's act-capecoral.com, Act Computers. So what's up, buddy?
I'm just watching the world burn, it seems like.
Tell
You
me
know, as
about
bad
it.
as I thought the gun laws were getting here, I don't think we're as bad as you guys are.
No, it's crazy. They're trying. Certain factions of the state are trying to make it crazy. We still consider ourselves a free state here, but that's always a battle to maintain the free state mantle. But there's definitely people, especially after mass shootings, who continuously try to change laws.
Yeah, I sent you a link on this one about this guy basically getting railroaded out there in Florida with the red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what'd you think of that? Did you check that out?
Yeah, talking about the video with the chick talking about it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Basically, he made a post. He posted on. We're just going to give you guys the abbreviated version because it's a long story. But long story short, he posted a photo, the famous photo of who's the cat from Planet of the Apes, and the former figurehead for the NRA.
Charleston Heston.
Yeah, he posted that famous picture of Charleston Heston saying, "From my cold dead hand," and then he named off like 3 of the county officials who are trying to pass a new super restrictive gun law in their county, which, by the way, the gun law can't go through because it basically flies in the face of a state law, and so no matter what they do, they can't get the law to work because, once again, they can't succeed the state law because federalism doesn't work that way. But I guess the wife of one of the people he named in the thing called the cops. The cops showed up, full SWAT gear, swatted the guy's house, talked to him, realized he wasn't a threat, and nothing happened to him. They didn't take his firearms, but he still got his house invaded in front of his neighbors by a SWAT team, all because of what boils down to an internet meme.
And just imagine the amount of tax. I'd like to know the tax money that went into that to pay for that swatting.
Do they pay for that door they kicked in?
That's a good question.
Are they going to pay for because you can't just replace the door. You got to replace the whole door jamb. That's an exterior door, which means, and this is Florida, which means it's all new concrete.
Yeah, and I was thinking I just now thought about that because your all's doors swing out, right?
It depends.
Your front doors typically swing out because of the hurricanes, so
now they swing out, but the idea is when you have an exterior door, you want it to swing out. That way the tongue, if you will, on your door jamb prevents people from kicking the door inwards.
Right. I've never lived in a state where they've swung out, so I thought it was more of a hurricane deal.
It's a hurricane deal and security. Now, with that being said, a lot of the houses down here have double doors, and those double doors just have the little thumb that goes into the tile and to the top of the door jamb, much like a commercial store. And those, obviously, a good Judy chop to the, right in between the doors will just push it right in.
Yeah, I can imagine the damage that would make, the cops coming in with a door knocker, so to speak. Damn.
So I had a super busy week this week. I think as we spoke last week, and I drove up to Orlando for wardrobe for this TV show that I'm working on. And then I had to go up there on Wednesday and Thursday for a 2-day shoot because it was a big scene. Day 1, there were 60 background actors. I was one of them. Day 2, there was 140. Because it was a party scene, if you will, in a huge ballroom, and once they got all the up closes, they needed the wide shots with all the audience. And
now there's 140 people there with you. Were you the tallest guy there?
Me and another one, another guy. He had a more important background role. Just he was basically assigned to a major character. He didn't have any speaking roles. He was just one of their men, if you will. And but interestingly enough, for some reason, as we spoke last week, my height is not beneficial to this type of work. And from what I understand, it's really not beneficial to print media either. People always say, "Oh, if you're tall, you can be a model." Well, apparently not, because I'm over the limit. But with that being said, whenever they need a crossover, that's basically when, the camera's set up in the middle of the room and they need you to walk in front of it or do a crossover the scene. I ended up doing like 3 crossovers. Luckily for me, I ended up, I think as I said before, in the pilot episode, in 60% of the scene that I was in, I was over the shoulder of the principal actor. And so in that scene on the pilot episode, my face was probably a little blurry because they're going to be focused in on the principal actors, and because of depth of field and the way cameras work, whenever that happens, the background goes a little fuzzy, but I'm sure as they pan around, you'll see me. But I was right in the frame. One scene at this party. Ironically, now I've done background work in 2 scenes at 2 different parties, so I can party like there is no other. But in this scene, once again, I'm right by the table, right over the main principal, like 5 of them's table. In another scene where the wife of one of the principal characters standing next to a bar, I'm standing 3 feet. I'll be on the edge of that frame. It's like I'm constantly somehow getting put around the edge of the frames. But the cool thing is, and I wanted to talk about this too because I just watched all 6 episodes of the new season of Peaky Blinders. I didn't realize that every season's only 6 episodes, which is a huge disappointment.
That seems to be a thing.
Well, I guess technically they're an hour long, so you can say, well, it's 12.5-hour episodes put in one. But yeah, it's I don't know, just when the things get going, it's over. But anyhow, I digress. The first day was a 13-hour shoot. And the reason for that, and you don't really realize this when you're watching a show, but since I've been through it now, like when I was watching Peaky Blinders this weekend, I'm like looking at it from a whole new angle. Same with El Camino. Now when I'm watching, I can almost see outside the frame. I can see, okay, the light's set up over here. They got this going on over here. The camera's panning this way. Now I'm almost seeing it from a directorial because with all the stuff that I do, I mean, our father used to edit video for Master Foods. He was making training videos back in the day, so he always had cameras and VCRs, and you and I used to record skateboarding videos back in the day, and we would edit them between 2 VCRs. You showed me that one VCR we could record audio track, and so technically I've actually been producing since I was in 8th grade. I just didn't know it had a name. And so, and plus my YouTube videos and all that stuff. And so while I'm there, I'm not just sitting around like gawking at the famous people. I'm actually watching the camera work, and I'm like trying to get a feel for how all this stuff works because it's free education, especially for someone who's trying to get into the video side and trying to do stupid YouTube videos with 3 different cameras and doing all the editing. And I'm learning so much. But the reason why 3 different scenes, let's just say it's an hour-long episode. The reason one episode took almost 26 hours to record, because the second day was 9 hours, first day was 13 hours, is because you record the scene. Let's just say, picture a rectangle room, right? Camera set up on the left, maybe there's one in the left corner. You record the scene. First you do the walkthrough, all the background actors talk, you get the ambient sound, and then you record it again, and the ambient sound goes away. We all have to pantomime, no talking, no clanking, and that way all the actors with their lav mics on, because they only have one boom mic, all the actors have lav mics on them, and so then they can get the dialogue, and then when they mix it all together, they can mix the ambient noise in the background at a lower volume, and then have the dialogue so you can hear it. So you shoot that twice, assuming everybody hits their marks, which they never do. So you shoot that 5 to 6 times. They call a break. They move the cameras to the right side of the room. You do the whole scene all over again. Call a break. Then they move the camera to the front of the room, back of the room, so on and so forth, so that when they edit it, you don't just have a shot where the camera's on the left side of everybody's faces and it's just a static moving picture. They do it from every corner of the room so that when the editors get a hold of it, they can adjust the shots so that the camera's almost moving around the room in 4 dimension, so that you have a better dynamic, more realistic photo or video. And so that takes a long, long time. And in this case, because it's a party, every good party has a band. Not only do we shoot it with all the cameras in all 4 areas, then they laid down the tracks, put the camera on a dolly, and they had to push up on the band and pull out on the band. And so it was just a long, long day on Wednesday.
So you're thinking maybe 2 days worth of filming for maybe 2 minutes worth of scene?
I know. There's even though all those scenes took place in one room, it's probably going to be half to 3/4 of an episode, because there's basically 5 different scenes going on there. Because basically everybody up to this point in the show, I think it's like episode 4. Everybody, like every main character, I think there's like 12 of them, is at this party, at this event, and so you have conversation A going on over here, conversation B going on over here. You got the wife pissed off talking to her friend over there, and so even though it takes place at one night, think of it like, you know, let's say prom. Prom's safe because this has nothing to do with prom. We're not 18-year-olds. But if you're at a 4-hour long prom, there's all kinds of things that happen that night. You know, boyfriends, girlfriends getting fights, whatever, dancing, this and that, and everything else. And so, yes, you're at a one prom and it only lasts 3 hours, but a lot of things happen, especially if you have 12 different characters. And so there's a lot of things going on. And then the fact that you got to shoot it from every single angle. Not to mention, you got the band pretending to play with the music and all that. You got to get the right tracks. And so it was just a fun time and a great experience. And I'm just so happy that I have the privilege to do it. But I'm hoping what's going to happen sooner or later is because they're moving me around so much and I'm getting on the screen so much. Hopefully at some point later in the episode, they're like, well, we need somebody who's kind of been around to say this one word. I don't know. Maybe something will happen where they'll give me 2 lines and I'll actually get paid a little bit more.
So I understand you may have been Dapper Dawn.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I look finer than my other effer. As we said last week when I showed up to wardrobe, the wardrobe head was pissed off because I'm 6'5", and they didn't have a suit that fit me, which means they had to order one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my idea of a suit, because usually the only time I wear them is for weddings, funerals, and thank God I haven't been to court since I was 18, usually court. My idea of a suit is going down to Burlington Coat Factory, finding the closest shirt that'll fit me, and trousers that are long enough, but they're always, you know, a size too big or too baggy. This is the first time I ever worn a suit that was tailored to me.
Whole different world, huh?
Well, not only that, but I open it up, and it's a goddamn Ralph Lauren suit.
Wow.
The jacket and trousers were both Ralph Lauren, and it's correct to the era which we're doing the show. And so not only are they not baggy, my cuffs on my shirt stuck outside the jacket just the right amount. My neck fit perfectly. The trousers were one size too big. They didn't bring them in, but to be fair to them, they didn't know I'd be running 100 miles, and I lost like even more weight in the 4 days that between my wardrobe and all that. But I brought my belt and the jacket on. You couldn't really tell. There was a part where the wardrobe lady wanted me to take off my jacket because it was later in the evening. I said I can't because my pants are one size too big, and you'll see where they're. She said that's fine. But yes, if I could have kept that suit. I mean, when's the next time I'm going to wear a goddamn Ralph Lauren suit that's tailored to me?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even own a suit, so.
Me neither. I don't even own. I own a button-up shirt, trousers, and like a vest with a fake pocket square. It's like sewn in. It's not even a real one.
Man, you wear that same getup to funerals and weddings.
Hey, man, I get in where I fit in. Well, to be fair, I did buy a second vest, but it didn't fit. Because the problem, once again, with the Burlington Coat Factory is where they're more than just great coats. The nicer shirts are all folded up and they're in cellophane, and they don't let you open them on site, and so you kind of got to go by the sizes, and it's hard to find. At the time, I was an 18-inch neck. Now I'm down to 16, but it's just, I don't know. I was thinking maybe when I get my tax return, I'll just go drop $200 on a suit and be done with it, but that's neither here nor there. Real quick. So we get there, right, and we're doing wardrobe. And I hope I'm not boring everybody with this Hollywood talk, but we're standing in line. Actually, I go there, get my suit, and because we're shooting this not at Universal Studios, we're actually at a real building in downtown Orlando, a beautiful historic building that's going to be torn down, sadly, but that's neither here nor there. Basically, our dressing rooms the guys had what used to be a small office, and the women had what used to be a small office. And so there's like 6 or 7 guys in there. There's nothing to hang our stuff on except for the fire escape ladder that's going to the roof, or the utility ladder, I should say. And so when they're changing, there's these 2 cats in there, and they're talking about Marvel movies. And they're maybe in their 20s. And then we're standing in line waiting to get our hair done, and they're still talking about Marvel movies. Now, the other guy you asked me about being the tallest guy, there's another guy there. He looked like a linebacker, and he's one of the guys who got a cooler role. Ironically, everybody kept asking me if I was one of those men. I'm like, no, I'm just an employee of the company.
I'm a frame filler.
No, the character, meaning he was an extra, but he was assigned as a, I don't want to say henchman, but there was a particular character who had a group of men who worked underneath him, and those guys weren't allowed to be messed with. The character, as far as wardrobe goes, as far as silly party favors, anything like that, because these guys are supposed to be taken seriously. They're badasses, and everybody thought, "Okay, are you one of them?" I'm like, no, I'm just a staff member of the company party. But this guy looks like he used to be a linebacker. He's as tall as me, super broad shoulders, probably weighs 240-ish. He's not like fat. He's stacked, but he's standing behind me, and we're standing in line for probably almost an hour. And these two cats are just talking, and I looked at him. I said, "Bunch of grown ass men talking about comic book movies," and he laughed. And I said that early on to him, and he laughed. And then we're standing in line, and 20 minutes later, I said to him, "Have you heard enough about comic book movies?" And he laughed again. And I get it, comic book movies are huge, but here's where it takes a turn. After they ran out of comic book movies to talk about, the young man was superly excited, beginning to start talking about Frozen Part 2.
What?
I just assumed, I've never seen it, I just assumed Frozen is kind of like a chick cartoon movie for young girls.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like something all the kids watch.
But
sure.
He was super excited to find out about the mystical powers she was going to have in Frozen Part 2. And the very next, on the last day after they wrapped us and we're waiting because we got to check out with casting basically for payroll, this cat starts playing Disney songs on his phone.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, wow, this is our young. It's just so funny because most of the guys there were in our 40s because of the age requirement for this feature.
You think this guy was a bit of a snowflake?
No, there were some snowflakes there who were basically brought in to do the dancing, and they were fine. This kid he was almost like your stereotypical dorky mama's boy. I don't know. I mean, we are in Orlando after all, so I mean, that's his mecca. He was just a diehard Disney kid. Let's not forget that Disney owns all those comic book movies franchises now.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
The other, and then we'll move on. The other funny thing that happened was, we got there Saturday, and wardrobe picked out this blonde girl, probably, I don't know, in her 20s. Apparently all the main characters in this movie were married except for one of them had a fiance, and apparently this was going to be the only episode that the fiance appeared in, so they didn't cast a professional actress because she had no lines. And so they asked the producers and the wardrobe lady to pick out a girl to play the role of this young cat's wife. And so they picked one out and they gave her a wedding ring, and on Sunday, the second day, which was Thursday, they took her in the room and she came down without the ring. She said, "The wardrobe lady picked me, producers picked me, casting picked me, took me in to meet the actor." And he looked at me and said, "Nope."
Oh shit!
He ended up picking a brunette.
Really?
Which, continuity problem. The
Yes,
girl
there
that plays his fiance during the second day of the shoot was the girl they had me walking around with on the first day of the shoot. So unless that footage, that if we're in the frame, unless I am extremely older than her, so maybe it won't really matter, but I just found it interesting. Like, you don't have to delete any scenes that we're together in because that turns out to be his fiance.
Or your daughter.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe I'll be brought in for season 4 when they finally get married. But yeah, I mean, and the cool thing is she was hired on as an extra and then got a quote-unquote role, but I don't even know if she had a speaking line, but I think she got paid more, so that's cool for her.
Absolutely is. Absolutely is.
Crazy thing, now we're going to transition off this, but while I was in Orlando, Cape Coral was popping off down here. And
Okay.
Carrie watches Lifetime Channel, right? She's watching all those shows where chicks are getting kidnapped and murdered and all that.
Does she follow that up with Hallmark Network by chance?
No. And by the way, if you guys want to give us a call, I know there's a few of you watching. Dave's not here. Give us a call at 239-256-5537, and if I hear it ring, I will try to pick it up. But give us a call at 239-256-5537.
Who is it? Who? Dave? Dave's not here.
I'm not going to play the whole thing for you. But anyhow, I come home and Carrie looks at me and she says, and you says it can't happen here. Because I hit her with the Adam Carolla line that, you ladies watch Lifetime Network and you think, oh, it can happen anywhere, it can happen here. And I try explaining to her statistically likely never to have that happen here.
It happened.
While I'm in Orlando, mystery surrounds Cape Coral woman's death as police name person of interest. Cape Coral, Florida, 4 days after taping off her home as a 4 days after taping off her home as a crime scene, Cape Coral police have not yet said how Christy Melton died. In a press release, Cape Coral PD said that Melton's death was suspicious, but still haven't ruled out homicide. On Friday, police confirmed that the person of interest in both deaths of Melton and Diane Ruiz, the deaths of Melton and Diane Ruiz is Wade Wilson. So basically, as I'm up in Orlando, this guy goes around and kills 2 people in Cape Coral. Wilson is currently in the Lee County Jail on unrelated charges. Before Monday, Kristen was not a victim. She was not a news story. She was a glue that held our family together, a friend said. She was stunning, but her beauty paled into comparison of her character. Above all, Christine was loyal. She had been our support since the day she was born. She was a protector, loved family, blah, blah, blah. So they're being real quiet about the details because it's still under investigation. But this guy ends up killing 2 people in 1 day here in Cape Coral. And so before all that came out, I came home. She's like, told you it could happen here.
So what was the size of the plate of crow you had to eat?
Nothing. I'm just like, damn it. It's like, it can't happen here. But sadly, around Cape Coral, actually, my answer was that's why I carry a gun with me everywhere I go.
There you go. And you're a big motherfucker, too.
Yeah. I probably don't need it. But you never know. There's crazy people. Crazy people don't know how tall people don't care how tall and crazy people are.
Exactly.
So what else you got going on, fella?
Well, man, just not much. I'm a little aggravated right now.
Why is that?
Got someone we both know.
Mm-hmm.
Who's having some problems.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep. It's kind of very repetitive, right? Like nothing's changing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to sound familiar, but there's a lot of truth.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably
should go. I don't know why it doesn't feed over in there, but go ahead.
Anyway, so I tried to offer some advice.
Mm-hmm.
Mildly successful. And this advice just gets thrown back in my face like I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's crazy.
What gender is this person? I already know, but for the sake of our listening audience, what gender is this person?
It's female. Not that that matters.
No, well, the only reason I bring that up is because, in my experience, some females, when they go on Facebook or even in real life and they have issues that they're complaining about or they have problems, they are not looking for solutions. They are looking to...
A sympathetic ear?
They're just looking to have someone to talk to. They're listening to somebody to take it in, process it, not give any offers to a solution because that's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for solutions. They just want someone to say, oh, that sucks. I feel for you. What can I do to help? Even though they're not looking for the solution.
Solution-based, you know?
But no, there are those people who like to talk about things even though they're not truly looking for a solution. Yeah. Which can get people like you and I in trouble because when people call me, it's because their computers are broke. Right. They're looking for a solution.
Yep.
When people call you, it's because you're usually putting together a project or something on the project you've already quoted or put into place. There's a problem, and they're calling you looking for solutions. And so 2 people who work in an industry that revolves around providing solutions to people's problems, at the end of the day, when we come across things like this, stupidly, we're thinking those people are looking for solutions, and it's not the case.
And you know what? I think it really is a gender thing. I listen to some podcasts and some doctors out there, and one of them, we'll just say it, Dr. Drew, he is very poignant, and when he says this, when
he's a man
your wife,
of passion, from what I understand.
Yeah, when your wife or your significant other talks to you, they're not looking for that solution. They are literally just looking for you to listen and nod your head so they can get it out. And it's hard. It's hard. I try, but whatever. Moving on. For sure.
Morgan Long just joined us via Facebook live stream, and he said, damn it, I didn't get the alert. I missed half the show. We don't mention this enough, especially for those of you who watch via Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. By the way, our Periscope audience is blowing up. I think I almost got more followers on Periscope than I have subscribers on the YouTube channel. By the way, the YouTube channel, it does have a name now, so it's not just YouTube/random bunch of nonsense. It's Digital 410, just like everything else. So please go subscribe. Gordon's got some video in the can he's going to send to me, and we're going to edit and get that up. So the channel will have more than just my ugly mug on it. Yeah, but I say all that to say this, Mr. Paul Harper and Morgan Long. You can download our show every day following the live stream via iTunes, or what they're fancily calling Apple Podcasts now, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever your fine podcasts are available. I think when I do our sound checks, I either listen to it on Stitcher or Google Music Play, but you can get it anywhere. So just because you missed it, don't mean you can't download it and listen to it in your car or in the bathroom if you're stuck in the bathroom for 2 hours, which I don't know why you would be. But those are always options, and we greatly appreciate people tuning in for the videos, but I get it. You're not going to sit there staring at your phone because sometimes this podcast goes 2 hours. So check it out. Enjoy it while you can, and then just download the podcast, and then you'll have it forever. And you can go back and listen to it whenever, and you can share it with your friends. Please share us with your friends. Send them to our Facebook page or d-410.com, or send them a link to the Apple podcast page, Spotify, Stitcher, and all of that. Let's talk about the false promises of technology.
Lots of them.
Today's false promise in technology is our friend, the LED light. The LED light was supposed to be the better, more improved version of the compact fluorescent. For those of you who are old and remember back in, 07, 08, when they decided to slowly get rid of the incandescent bulb and force onto us what we called at the time the pigtail light, because it looked like a pig's tail, the compact fluorescent. Those were around for a while, but LEDs were supposed to be better, last longer, finer, a little more expensive. And so they
typically do. They actually typically do.
And they work. For example, I don't know if you guys notice on the video, the lighting in here is so much better, and I only have one source of light, with the exception of the TV behind me. Dave and I tried the 2-lamp thing. We tried the overhead fan with built-in LEDs. Got rid of all that. I have a single, only thing on in this room with the exception of the TV is a single Craftsman-style LED work lamp that used to be the ones with the halogens you'd use in your garage, and they'd get so damn hot.
Yep.
But because this thing's LED, it puts off no heat. And so it does cast a nice white light. I have it reflecting off the ceiling so the shadows aren't so crazy. But the ceiling fan in this room and the one in my daughter's room, they do not have light bulb sockets. You take off the globe and there is an array of, I would say, between 25 and 30 little square LEDs that cannot be removed.
Yeah, little diodes.
Hence the name LED, light emitting diode.
Yeah, there you go.
Funny how that works.
It is.
My daughter says, hey, we need to change the light bulb in my fan. It no longer works. I was like, you sure it's a light bulb? I think it's LED. Well, it went out, and I thought the power went out, but the fan still works, and the lights don't come on. Okay, well, maybe it's a different one than the one in the studio, because I knew the one in the studio had LEDs because I took it down one day to try to put another bulb in there to brighten it up, and I realized, hey, there's no sockets. It's all LED.
It's a fucking board. What's this?
So I went in there, and I took the globe down, and lo and behold, it's the same one that's in here. And she's not lying. She's not making shit up. They don't work. Now, I'm not saying 4 of them burnt out and the rest. No, the whole grid doesn't light up. I don't know if the switch on the fan went bad. I tried turning off the light switch on the wall and turning it back on, thus rebooting it, if you will. I tried turning the chain switch off and on. Some bitch just doesn't work. And you suggested I may have to change out the lighting thing, but I'd say it would probably be cheaper to buy a whole new damn fan.
And it could be. It
or
sounds
just
like
put a lamp in a room.
There you go. It could be the board. With LED, you gotta be careful. Don't go for the cheapest ones. I know that yours probably came with the house.
Yeah, the house was flipped when we moved in. Everything had been replaced in the house with the exception of the tile floors in the main living area, but everything else had been repainted and replaced. And I'm sure these are like the base model Home Depot freaking fans. They're probably not even a Hunter Douglas. They're just generic fan A. They're all white, but yeah. The one in her room no longer works.
Yep. Looks like you're going to have to get a lamp. Or you could just take that light that's lighting up the studio and run it in there and be done with it.
That's my light.
Well.
She damn near lost a Fitbit we gave her today. Why would I give her my light?
Hey, I didn't know she almost lost a Fitbit, but sounds like it's
found
been
it
found. That's good.
On the floorboard.
Speaking
of the Volkswagen.
I've lost a Fitbit before.
How?
My Charge 2, when I first got my Charge 2, it kept wanting to come undone, even with the little clip-on deal.
Mm-hmm.
All I remember is I had my arm out the car when I left the house, and when I got to work, I no longer had a Fitbit on. So that sucker came off, and it was an issue. Ended up replacing it, but I have lost a Fitbit, and it was on my arm.
I told her tonight there's no reason to lose a Fitbit. That her mom had that Fitbit for 2 years before she got her Garmin, and before we gave it to her, she's had it 2 weeks and she lost it. But the battery was dead. I said, the battery of mine was dead yesterday. I keep it on until I get home.
Exactly.
I said, I turned around this morning because I forgot to put it back on after I got out of the shower, and I noticed I could feel the weight wasn't there, and I turned around and came home and got it.
Yep. And I tell you what, I got the Versa, and it's nice because it's waterproof. So you can swim in it and everything.
You know the one thing I love when you tell somebody you run?
What are you running from?
No. You know, running's bad on the knees.
So is that fucking...
You know, they say running is one of the worst things you can do to your body. Really? I was under the impression that heroin was one of the worst things you can do to your body.
Or smack, yeah.
I was under the impression that sitting on your ass for 18 hours a day, watching TV, playing Xbox, and eating fast food and gaining 40 pounds is bad on the knees.
I'm here to tell you, brother, sitting at a desk 10 hours a day at work is definitely bad on the body.
Anything athletic that one does in their life, whether it's playing football as a kid, the aforementioned skateboarding last week, your daughter playing volleyball, softball, the family badminton game, anything that requires physical activity is inherently bad for you. It's a calculated risk.
Yeah.
High school softball girls, they blow out their knees. The pitchers blow out their rotator cuffs. It's a risk.
Hey, so
running, yes, you can hurt your knees.
Or get run over.
But to tell me it's one of the worst things you can do in your body when I've lost 40 pounds... I skateboarded for 18 years, never had leg muscles. I'm getting quads and calves like you wouldn't believe from running. So yes, running can cause runner's knees, but don't tell me it's one of the worst things you can do in your body, because I can see here meth, heroin, crack, sitting around eating all day. There are 10,000 things that I can list off that is the worst thing you can do for your body than running.
To be fair, doesn't everything cause cancer? So I'm sure running causes cancer too, right?
Only in California.
Yes.
Have you ever looked at the chalk for a pool cue? There is a health hazard for California written on it.
Well,
the old joke, like if you look at like paint, like you'll see mechanics, like especially paint guys, may cause cancer in California. Oh, good thing we're in Texas.
Exactly. Yeah. Why does it only cause cancer there? And that's funny because you go to California to any restaurant, especially if it serves alcohol, and it'll have that sign in the background that says, alcoholic beverages have been known to cause cancer in the state of California.
Mm-hmm. Good thing we're in Florida. Because we're on the California thing, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I will. Hollywood, no offense. I don't want to offend anybody with this statement who works on a movie set for the living.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
We are in the era of everything's offensive. That we need to be all-inclusive. That we're all one person. We need to love thy brother, thy sister, and thy transitioning persons that I don't know if we call he, she, they, them, or the, z, whatever. And I'm down for that. I truly am. But I do enjoy hypocrisy. But I also understand logistics and running a business. So what I'm about to say, I understand why this policy is in place, and I'm not ridiculing it. It doesn't offend me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm down for the cause, but I got to call you guys out on your bullshit. California, once again, this is where all the talk about being all accepting, no one's better than anybody else, right? That's where a lot of that crap comes from.
Yep, they're the leader of the clubhouse.
But they're the leader of the clubhouse until it comes to a movie set. And then it's segregated. Did you know as a background actor, we are not allowed to eat food near the rest of the cast and crew?
Now, is that a company policy or is that a SAG policy?
It's SAG, pretty much. But once again, they're all from California. These are the people who say we're all the same, we're all accepted. Yeah, and once again, I understand the reason for it. It doesn't offend me. I just like the hypocrisy of it. Not only do we not eat in the same room or on the same floor as the lighting guy, the sound guy, or the principal actors, or even the wardrobe people, we don't even eat off the same food truck.
I bet yours isn't nearly as nice either.
The food was good. I'm not complaining. It's free food.
Okay.
You're getting ribs. You're getting dried chicken breast. You're getting rice. I look at everything through the lens of reenacting. When I go spend a week in reenacting, I'm eating like freaking sandwiches, peanut butter, and whatever I can cobble together. So I'm not complaining. But I will say they walk from their food truck with asparagus and big-ass pork chops where we're eating stuff that's been over a sterno can for 3 hours and it's all dried out.
Right.
And so the same people, because it's these actors who get on Twitter who spread this propaganda, this new way of thinking, that when they're off work, everybody's all one and the same. You know, we're all here, all free love. But 3 hours ago when they're on the movie set, they won't even look at you, let alone allow you to eat in the same room with even the lady who does makeup. The extras, the background actors, you have to eat in a completely different area. You're told not to even say hi to a principal actor unless they talk to you first.
Are you saying you're riding the back of the bus?
I think the phrase I used was, if this was 1918 and we were on the Titanic, we'd be down in steerage.
There you go.
I don't know if I have the year right on that, but yeah, once again, I get it logistically. You know, we're just random people you hire off the street to fill the frame. You don't need us meddling downstairs. I get it. Once again, I'm not bothered by it. I just thought it was funny that that's the era, that's the side of the country where a lot of this, we're all one, we'll all be accepting, all that comes from, and yet I can't even eat in the same room with you guys. Or let alone off the same catering truck.
Well, it's kind of the same thing with union. If you got a large job site with union and non-union, there's actually two separate entrances.
Yeah, but when's the last time you seen the guy from Plumber Local 873 go on Twitter talking about how we're all equal and need to share the love?
I don't know. Have you seen people the union are backing up these days?
I don't see too many union folk.
Yeah. We've got more gun control coming because of it.
Oh, by the way, we're talking about live PD and all that, and I was watching all that nonsense. I got to say, you got some crazy-ass people living in the desert in Nevada, man.
Oh, yeah, out at Pahrump in Nye County. Absolutely.
Nye County's like, what is that? Like, what's that phrase they use for people who think they don't have to follow government?
I know what you're talking about, and I'll actually back
sovereign
that up.
Citizen. Those are where all the sovereign citizen nuts live. Get off my property. I don't have to follow your rules. I don't have to pay. Those guys are insane.
Well, there's a famous radio show called Coast to Coast.
Mm-hmm, George Norrie.
With George Norrie.
And who's the other guy?
His predecessor. Oh, my God.
East of the Rockies, call 1-800, blah, 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 blah. To the west of the Rockies, please call 239. I lost our phone number.
Well, he said that it was Art Bell.
Yeah, Art Bell and George Norrie.
Calling out from high upon Nye. Well, Nye is Nye County, Nevada. He lived in Pahrump.
Yeah, east of the Rockies, give us a call at 239-256-5537.
Which I enjoyed the show.
Oh, I
But
did
yeah,
too. We used to listen to it in Kentucky, and you'd hear all these weirdos call, but now we know why, because they all live in Nye County. Those cats are crazy.
well, my county bumps right up to Area 51. But yes, there is a term. It's called desert rat, and those are the true desert rats. I have never actually been in Pahrump, and I've lived out here for 13 years. I do go over the hump, as we say, towards Pahrump, but that's usually just to go shooting out in the desert.
I mean, these guys don't even live in single wide trailers. They live in like the truck cap trailers that you put on the back of your F-150 without the truck. It's like
Yeah.
up on sawhorses and all their like one episode I was watching, a guy had like a generator out there powering up, and his neighbor called because he was playing death metal too loud.
So you guys have you guys have your gators, and we have our desert rats, and I bet you they're a breed not too far apart.
I don't know. Like tonight, the episode, the one neighbor called because the other guy was flying his drone too low over his property. When the cops showed up, he was screaming, "Get off my property! I don't have to talk to you guys. I'm a sovereign citizen." This, that, and the other thing, and it's just.
They start listing off a bunch of bullshit numbers to make it sound like it's a legitimate deal, but it's not. Yeah, those people are freaking insane, and I think that's half our homeless population here too.
I always love when the cops meet one of these fine specimens of human, and these people always think they know the law better than the people who have to take street law courses to become a police officer. But these cats always think they know the law better than the cops themselves.
Yeah, they do. It is insane watching these people, and it's like, dude, you should just shut up now. You have a right to remain silent, and you probably should remain silent.
In a town inundated with LED signs because you guys got rid of all your neon, do you still have a place and a need for the sign guy, the guy who flips the arrow, spins around, stands there with a sign all day?
We do have them. It's funny because they all kind of almost went away when the economy took a crap. And then all the housing started coming back, and then they were kind of there. But I think they realized that, you know what, it's not really worth paying these dudes to flip signs.
Well, we have them all over Southwest Florida, and particularly Cape Coral, because bandit signs are illegal. And if you're a business, and I learned this the hard way, and you put up a sign on your own building, not only do you have to pay for a permit to fly said sign, but you can only put said sign up for 30 days and then have to take it down for 60 before you can put it back up after buying a new 30-day permit.
Now, are these signs for saying, hey, there's a sale, 20% off?
Like when I had my computer shop at the first location, we had the entire side of the building. We were at the end, so we bought a huge 25-foot long sign that said computer sales, because at the time we actually sold computers. And it was up for an hour and a half before Cape Coral, the People's Republic of Cape Coral, came and told us that we need to buy a permit, and which we didn't have a problem doing. But once again, if you can only put it up for 30 days and you got to take it down for 2 months before you can fly it again.
Now, can you change the sign to something different, or is it any sign?
Yes, but those signs aren't cheap, especially a large banner like that.
This is true. Okay.
And so the way people get around that is to pay someone minimum wage to go out there and fly a sign, because now it's not a stationary sign. You're paying at someone's source of employment. And so, like, a lot of Little Caesars do it. Like a lot of the fly-by-night, when tax seasons, they'll pay the poor schmuck to stand out there dressed up like the Statue of Liberty, flying the signs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a sign flyer, I'm sorry. Not trying to be a jerk.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
But let's face facts. If you're flying a sign, chances are you don't have a whole hell of a lot of tradable skill. Unless it's your third job and you're just doing it to make a little extra money, or you like to fly signs. I saw the epitome of laziness. Tied in with ingenuity and creativity.
The flippers, right? The guys who flip and all that stuff and occasionally hit a car.
Well, those guys I'll give credit to. The ones who dance and like flip it and do the back spins and all that stuff. Those cats are cool.
Yeah.
This guy, this kid I should say, he's probably 18. He's standing, once again, laziness incorporated with ingenuity and creativity. So I give him points on a creativity scale. He's standing out on the curb with an arrow. Not spinning it. Not moving. Not dancing. And here's why. He fashioned a cell phone holder to the top of the sign and had his cell phone in it so he could watch YouTube or whatever, Netflix, while he's standing out on the corner with the sign. He actually had his cell phone fastened to the top of the sign, and he's just standing stationary, just watching his phone while he's holding the sign, standing on the curb.
I mean, it's got to be an incredibly boring job. So I get why he was doing that.
Yeah, but the idea of that whole job is to get people's attention and to direct them, to move their arms and point them. But when you're just standing there stationary, I don't know where your place of business is at.
It could be right behind you.
Yeah, could be.
Or across the street.
But I saw that and I started laughing. I was like, that's a cat who realizes his job sucks. But hey, at least he's working. But yeah, he was just full-blown Christopher Griffin.
Man, I'm just here to collect a check, man.
He
That's
was
it.
just sitting there watching his phone, got the earbuds in, and just holding a sign up and just staring right at the phone. I just thought it was hilarious.
That is funny.
Nick Tulloch's tuning in. He said they're all over Columbus. For those of you who listen to the Stan and Haney show, our friend Nick, who's tuning in from the live stream, he is one of Haney's Xbox friends who apparently was concerned about my self-improvement and my lack of video games. But poor Nick was in a automobile accident while exiting the back parking lot of a White Castle and was hit head-on collision. Bodies everywhere, head-on collisions, retards beware. No, that's another song. Poor son of a bitch broke his arm that he broke a few years back from his motorcycle accident, and so he hasn't been able to join Haney in his Borderlands 3 domination because, well, his arm's all jacked up.
Nick, I love you, brother, but you need to stay away from vehicles right now.
And I actually meant to bring this up last week, and I know we're going a little long, and this will be the last story, and then we'll get in the news. I was thinking about Nick and his accident, and a motorcycle accident before that, and I realized something. I am a fantastic driver, but a horrible passenger.
Yeah, don't tell me about that.
The 2 times that actually, no. Full disclosure, I've been in 3 car accidents. Once I was not driving. I was sitting idle at a stop sign, and one of my customers drove her Lincoln Navigator right into my trunk because she wasn't watching the sign. The left turn arrow turned green, and so when she saw people on her left going, she just drove into my trunk. On the Volkswagen Jetta we bought, the first one, which we had for 30 days. Thanks so much. So I had to tell the cop, hey, that lady just gave me a check. We're not doing insurance fraud. I was just happening to be on my way to her house to drop off her laptop, and she rear-ended me, which he laughed. But other than that, the other 2 times I've been in accidents, I have been the passenger.
So you're saying you should never be a passenger?
I'm saying I'm a fantastic driver, but a horrible passenger. The first time was in high school. Buddy Chad and I were coming down through downtown Columbus. It was raining and foggy, and imagine that, the defrost in the Isuzu Rodeo didn't work that great, and he was bending down as he was driving, trying to look up, and he ran a red light, and we got hit by a UPS truck.
Ooh.
And as I famously say, interestingly enough, another UPS truck was there transferring the packages out of the defunct one before the police even arrived. So the fine people at UPS have a quicker call time, at least in 1998, than the fine Columbus Police Department. Second time, I was driving down 82 in Fort Myers after I just moved down here. I was a passenger in a Volkswagen GTI, and we're rolling down 82 at 55 when, let's just say, a group of illegals in an Astrovan pulled out in front of us, and we T-boned them. ICP once said the ghetto's got love and the love is all good, and I'll stand by that, because as I spilt out of the Volkswagen GTI, which, by the way, not a single goddamn airbag deployed, even though we T-boned a van. The driver of the van tried to start driving away.
Okay.
And a brother walked off the sidewalk, walked right up to him, after someone else yelled, stop him, reached in this guy's van, grabbed his keys, and said, not today, asshole, and threw him across the street.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Like, thank you. Luckily, the guy did have insurance. It wasn't his van. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that would happen in a nicer neighborhood. I don't think anybody would risk themselves to get involved. But this cat just, a lady yelled, stop them. They're trying to get away. The dude walked up, said, not today. Reached in there, grabbed the guy's keys, and just lobbed them across the street.
At the risk of sounding insensitive, how many of the passengers remained unseen?
All of them, I think. Because at that point, I think the jig was up. they knew that, hey, we're not getting away. I mean, if this guy's going to be willing to stick his head into the cab of our van and remove the keys from our ignition, I don't think anyone are going to let us get away. But yeah, so the 2 times I've been in a major accident, I was a passenger in both sides.
No good. Oh, yeah.
So are you ready to do? Well, you wrecked your S10 once, didn't you? How many cars have you wrecked?
That was it. Driving down the road with a buddy named Andy in the passenger seat, saw some what ended up being some what I thought was landscaping off of a truck in the middle of the road. Went around, looked up, and there was a car stopped dead in front of me. So, yep, that was not a good one, but hey.
I remember a friend of ours, he used to be the head of Dodge Skate Park in downtown Columbus.
Yes.
He was sitting in his Toyota at a McDonald's enjoying a Big Mac.
I think it's Ford Ranger.
Ford Ranger. Yeah, like
because it was funny. Let's lay a little background. A lot of us who skated at Dodge had red pickup trucks, and I don't know if that goes back to the whole Tony Hawk driving a small red truck and gleaming the cube, or what. But
I don't know. Well, that was Christian Slater, wasn't it? Tony Hawk was his stunt double. Or did Tony Hawk?
He actually had a role.
He had a role.
Yeah.
And so Donnie was sitting in the parking lot of McDonald's enjoying a nice, fine Big Mac and fries, better than the Big Mac I got from the McDonald's in Kissimmee, Florida. If you want to see that piece of shit, go to my D-Train page. I got a Big Mac that was nothing more than 2 patties with cheese and a smidget of Thousand Island. No lettuce, no pickle, nothing.
You think you got somebody's special order?
I threw it away and went across the street to the Miami Grill that's owned in part by the one and only Pitbull, and got me a half Cuban sandwich, which was a hell of a lot better. I did go into that particular McDonald's Facebook page and started looking at the reviews, and apparently it's the worst McDonald's in the entire state of Florida. But I digress. And so Donnie was sitting in his, you said Ford Ranger.
Yeah, Ford Ranger.
And some lady didn't think it behooved her to get out of the way of an ambulance. And the ambulance had to dodge her, went up into the parking lot of said McDonald's, and basically destroyed him inside that truck. And he was laid up in the hospital for months, wasn't he?
He wasn't actually too bad. He just couldn't skate.
It was bad enough that his truck was on the front page of the Columbus Dispatch. Because I remember seeing his bag with all the skate pads and boards in the back of his truck.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on the news. Was it Channel 5? No, not 5. I forget the name of the numbers of the channels there, but it was the NBC channel that I saw it on. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, Nick said they had to put the plates and the screws back in his wrist to hold his arm back together.
Ugh. That is nuts. Hey, speaking of McDonald's, before we hit into the news, have you found the prices going up there?
No.
And they have here, and I think it's because they have increased the minimum wage. That's going to step up like 50 or 75 cents a year. And it's now to the point where I'm like, you know what? I could go somewhere else and get a lot better food for the same price.
Yeah, I mean, we talked last week. You said, and I meant to put a poll up on Facebook, but you're saying if all we had was the big 3 to choose from, you'd go to Wendy's, and Dave and I said we'd go to Burger King, all being equal. Sadly, there's only really one good Burger King. Luckily, it's by my house. The other ones are neither here nor there. But I will say I like Burger King's fries better than Wendy's fries.
There you go. I usually dump the fries for either a chili or a salad. But
joining us live from Las Vegas, Nevada, from the WT410 News Desk, here he is, our anchorman, Gordon Abernathy. Gordon, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right. This is news, but it's also going to have some commentary.
Getting good grades. It's the future so bright. He had to wear shades. That's like the 4th music reference for you guys tonight. You're welcome.
You may get a couple of more.
Oh,
so
boy.
There was an incident in Los Angeles.
An incident?
An incident. So officers responded to a person with a gun. And what happened was, in this world of oversensitivity,
I thought they had like the strictest gun laws in the country.
Well, what they had is...
If they have the strictest gun laws in the country, then obviously no one has guns, so what's the problem?
Well, what's interesting is somebody was, hyper aware and obviously a very nervous individual. The officers were directed to a performer wearing a Star Wars Stormtrooper costume at the Silver Lakes Library for holding his prop blaster.
It doesn't surprise me. I was at a Halloween event in downtown Cape Coral 2 years ago. The year before I went, I took my Thompson, my fake Thompson. It's a prop, and I just put the orange plug in it. But word came down the following year that there was no toy weapons allowed as part of your costume, so I left it at home, but I did keep my scabbard with my rubber K-bar, because I have a real K-bar for my display, then I have a rubber one, because I ever want to stab somebody during reenactment, and I had that one on. Cop came over and said, you got to get rid of that. So I couldn't even have a rubber K-bar on my leg.
Well, what's amazing is, and this is where I just find the humor in the whole deal. So anybody seen Star Wars, it doesn't look like a real gun that's out there today. However, the officers did respond. They did briefly detain the stormtrooper, and once they determined that the weapon was in fact a prop, they let him go.
Well, everybody knows stormtroopers can't hit their targets anyhow, so what were they worried about?
Exactly. So, there was an event that the library was holding called Star Wars Reads. So it was a public event, getting kids in.
Enough of the Star Wars already.
Yep, that's it. So, moving on. This comes from Forbes. And this probably doesn't surprise me because evidently I'm just an insensitive old asshole. 49% of millennials will quit their jobs within 2 years.
I believe it.
So millennials are disillusioned about the future. Now 49% of millennials will quit their job within the next 2 years. This is the finding that comes from a new survey, the 2019 Deloitte Millennial Survey, which says millennials are disillusioned with the traditional institutions. They're also skeptical of business motives and pessimistic about the economic and social progress. This is where some of my my commentary will come in.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
This is the problem with coddling your kids.
First off, hold on. Let's pause this. On the behalf of the Waterman and D-Train show, we're going to edit this story because we have a bad problem with journalism or lack thereof in this country, in this world. We established about 3 months ago that the group of people they are referring to are in fact not millennials, but Generation Z. Because millennials are technically born in 79 and up, which would include people who were 40 and a little bit younger. And I don't know too many 40-year-olds who'd quit after 2 years. I think these people are referring to 20 to 30-year-olds.
Well,
which
actually,
is Generation Z.
They cover both generations, and in this survey, they surveyed 13,416 millennials across 42 countries and 3,009 members of Generation Z in 10 countries. Now, the millennials included in this study
Hold
were born...
on, I'm sorry. Because if Dave was here, I would do it to him, so this is directed at me.
He's an asshole, sir.
I stepped on your story. I thought I knew something, but truth be told, I'm just a...
He's an asshole, sir.
Whoops, wrong song. I'm definitely an asshole now.
Asshole, major asshole. Gunners made first class, Philip asshole.
Go ahead.
That fucking asshole. So the millennials included a study that was born between January of 83 and December of 1994, while the members of Generation Z were born between January of 95 and December 2002.
Okay.
So that's kind of the study group they used. Nearly a third of the of these respondents are currently unemployed, and a third do not have a college degree. So, typically, they don't like the way us old people do business. They don't trust it. But coming from a guy who sees the business end of it, there isn't much meat on the bone, people. We gotta do it, and we gotta work hard and smarter and more efficiently, and just not be so sensitive about things. But moving on.
Well, I mean, I have talked to a few people because I do a lot of offices, a lot of medical places, and there's one particular. I was talking to their office manager who has the unfortunate job of looking for new hires, and he's saying that it's getting so hard to find remotely qualified people who are willing to actually do the minimum amount of work and that even have interview skills.
And that's scary. And I think a lot of it we have to blame on the phones, the social media, and just losing the interpersonal communication skills.
Well, yeah, and we also got to blame technology because, as we've also spoken in the past, and that's slowly becoming one of my catchphrases that Dave should shoot me with a Nerf gun for constantly saying as episodes in the past. We can't blame the kids for this because when you and I were young, we go out and get a job. we'd go to Wendy's, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, what have you. Would ask for an application, and more often than not, unless they're in the middle of a lunch rush, you would fill it out, and the manager would talk to you for a few minutes, and either say, hey, do you have time to sit down now, or can you come back on this day? You would go back, you would have a personal interaction with said manager. And in my experience, I've never had an interview that I didn't get hired for the job, except for when I did my first and only cattle call casting interview at California Pizza Kitchen, when they were looking for 2 waiters and they brought in like 28 people to do a group interview, which is so dumb. But anyhow, in my experience, unless you're a complete social reject, at least back in the 90s and early 2000s, when you went in and you asked for the application, you filled it out, usually you would talk to that manager, and more often than not, you would get the job. Yeah. But now when these young cats go in, can I get an application? Yeah, go sit down at that computer over there. It'll get emailed to corporate office, and then your stuff will get put in an email that the manager doesn't want to read anyhow. And so
I am 100% with you. That is one of the problems that started driving me nuts when I was beginning to look for work when I first came out here.
And
it
so
was all
you're
digital.
Already at a disadvantage. One, maybe you don't have the background, but you have great personal skills. You're very likable, and if you actually had the chance to sit down with the manager at that point and talk to them, you would be at an advantage. But because one, we're continuing to force people to disassociate with people and actually have eye contact and learn how to socially interact with their fellow human beings. Two, once again, it's just getting sent to corporate and then recycled and then probably will get sent in a bulk mail with 38 other digital applications that you'll probably never get seen. So it's a huge disadvantage for the younger generation.
Yeah, and I think it's something that needs to be, and it may be changing a little because I'm hearing that there's more like Skype interviews now, which it's okay. I guess it's the step in the right direction, but I really like to be in the same space as a person. I think that is the key, especially when it comes to eye contact. And believe it or not, how they shake a hand is very important. There has been in the past that when they gave me the dead fish handshake, I'm like, I ain't hiring this guy.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than that. You gotta learn how to shake a hand. I remember, and eye contact. I remember when I was in high school, I went over and I dropped off the kid I worked with at Wendy's. And I've always been a floor looker because of my low self-esteem growing up. I've always walked around staring down at the floor. I remember the next day he came to work and said, yeah, my dad said you're not allowed back at our house because you refused to make eye contact with him. He thought I was shady and up to no good because when I met him, I didn't look him in the eye.
That stuck with you to this day, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's very, very important. But we're going to move on. A couple more stories here. One more reason not to live in the state of California because it's all over the news. Power cuts. So because of the fires last year being caused by Pacific Gas and Light, I think Electric, PG&E, and it's something weird because, Don, you've seen it, and I've seen it growing up in Kentucky in the rural areas. A power company comes through, and they trim all the trees around the lines, right?
Unless you live in Cape Coral, Florida, and then the neighbor's power line takes out the damn power, and you don't have power and water for 16 days after Hurricane Irma because their tree knocked down the power pole and broke the breaker, and the power circles through the line. And so on day 16, you go on K-Rock, and you beg and plead and tell the people how to fix the problem. And luckily, somebody's listening, and they call and get your address and come over here and fix it. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So one of the big fires last year was actually, they figured out, was caused by a faulty electrical from PG&E. It basically cost them millions of dollars. So now they've got the idea, and it's actually happening here up on Mount Charleston, that during the fire season, we're going to cut people's power. So they have cut, this was as of 5 days ago, they have cut power to over 1 million people.
I call bullshit.
And
I think it's an excuse.
It is. They don't
because before, I remember when I moved out to California in 2001,
rolling blackouts.
We were having rolling brownouts.
Yep.
And they weren't blaming it on power. I mean, fires. They're basically blaming it on poor infrastructure and a lack of infrastructure. And so now it seems like, well, we're going to still have the roaming blackouts, but instead of admitting the fact that we haven't fixed the problem over the last 18 years, we're just going to blame it on something else.
Well, let me read the story here.
Sure.
So unpopular move that disrupted daily life was prompted by forecasts calling for dry, gusty weather, which didn't happen at that time. It came after the catastrophic fire sent PG&E into bankruptcy and forced them to take more aggressive steps to prevent blazes. Evidently, they can't afford to get people out there to trim the fucking trees. So the drastic measures caused long lines at the supermarket. So this is like hurricane season, except it's wildfire season. And hardware stores as people rushed to buy ice, coolers, flashlights, sound familiar, batteries across swaths of Northern California. Cars backed up to traffic lights that had gone dark. So now the traffic isn't even running, right?
And we know how well people are good at turning out bad intersections to a four-way stop. That works great every time.
Yeah, everybody just goes for the whole shot, right?
Yeah, it's insane.
Schools and universities canceled classes, and many businesses were closed down. So to me, there's a huge economic impact. Now, technically, the power company ain't making any money because there's no kilowatt hours being burnt and everything else. So my question is to PG&E, how hard is it to trim these trees? You know, you got the helicopters that you use for the
Have you seen those? Those things are badass. They got like a 23-foot chainsaw blade on them. They dangle from a helicopter.
Retrofit the helicopters that you use to inspect the high tension power lines with something like that. You know,
have you seen that guy's job?
Yeah, that whole entire helicopter gets energized, right?
Yeah, it has to, or the guy would die. For those you guys haven't seen it, go on YouTube and Google something like high tension wire maintenance guy. He's in basically a what the hell they call that suit? It looks like chainmail, but they call it
it's an arc flash suit, basically.
Basically, they get on a helicopter and he has what looks like a giant sparkler, and he touches the power line to charge him the helicopter, and then he clamps on something to create the charge, because since they're in a helicopter, they're not grounded. And so he's actually in a full-length chainmail suit with energy flowing all around his body, and he literally inches his way down these power lines, inspecting them. And if something were to create a contact point between him and the physical ground, he would just blow up. But because he's not grounded, it's the craziest damn thing in the world to see this. I'm sure he makes a killing annually, but that is a great job. I wouldn't want it, but that's an all balls job right there.
Yeah, all balls.
Yep.
Definitely. So we're going to go from the west side of the country all the way back east to Atlantic City, New Jersey. Atlantic City firefighters rescue a worker dangling several stories up after scaffolding collapses. So the Atlantic City firefighter who rescued actually two workers after their scaffolding collapsed today. One was dangling from the side of the building by a rope, while the other one was struck by a tilting platform.
Stupid ocean makes me wear this harness all day. It's uncomfortable. I always got to have 2 points of contact. Now you know why, fella. That harness saved your ass.
Actually, the OSHA rule now is 3.
3 points of contact?
3 points of contact, especially when you're on a ladder. It happened at a building on Atlantic and Kentucky Avenue about 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Eyewitness video showed a worker hanging as he was stuck outside a window. I was on my way to work. I came out and he was yelling, "Help! Help!" Yo, no shit. What else would he be yelling? And the fire trucks were there. What's that?
I can see my house from here.
Yeah, this is a great view.
I know somebody's familiar with the area. Apparently, that used to be the government building you would go to get your food stamps and your welfare. They're remodeling it.
There you go. Put them to work. So they got it. It sounded like they rescued him. The one worker had quickly got off the platform system and hung on a rope that was tied to a safety harness. The other worker remained on a platform, and that he's about to level it. All I heard was noise, according to eyewitness Mark Jackson. The piece right there, it bent, and the two men were on it. The Caucasian man started hanging. The Caucasian man started hanging as the thing twisted, and the African American man went and took the rope.
Into this, but okay.
I'm just reading the article. They were there hanging. They identified both, but they were there trying to hang it. And when the police and fire came by and saved them all. So
now that's the lighthearted construction story. I sent you both of these because the next one you're going to do, which is a horrible story, happened first, and then this one happened. It's like not a good day to be construction or exterior high-rise maintenance guys.
This is correct, and I've actually seen something like this out here back in 2008. The M had some kind similar problem, but nobody fortunately died. And I'm actually going to add a little to this one because I have some opinions. But Atlantic City firefighters rescue, and also don't do work in Atlantic City right now. Firefighters rescue. That's
the one you just did. You're looking for New
Orleans Hotel.
There you go.
Under construction, collapses, at least 2 dead, multiple injured. So New Orleans, the mayor confirmed a second death Saturday night and said a third person remained missing after the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino building under construction in the city's downtown area partially collapsed earlier in the day.
Now, was it under construction or deconstruction? Because the footage I saw looks like they were dismantling it, and it almost looked like a dismantling gone wrong.
I believe it was under construction. It could have been retrofitting an older building. I am not sure. But more than 20 people were injured due to this collapse. And they can confirm that they lost at least 2, and the third obviously has not been found, so they don't know. The bodies were spotted by a search team inspecting the damage after the collapse, but the remains could not yet be recovered. So they're still kind of chilling there, which sucks. So the cranes capable of lifting the collapsed portion of the hotel were being transported to New Orleans to help with the efforts of recovery.
That's Nolans, by the way.
That is Nolans. Sorry, Nolans Fire Department Chief Timothy McConnell. I don't know why I called him Timmy. Confirmed earlier that Urban Search and Rescue was there, trying to prepare sweeping the building for any possible bodies or other trapped survivors. The remains. This whole situation remains very fluid, and there is actually other shit falling. That was a little artistic license on my part, not part of the story. But anyway, warning people, you need to stay away from the area. So if this is indeed a new building, we had kind of similar issue out here with the Harmon Casino and Hotel that ended up being pulled down. It was never opened because there were some construction defects. And I'm seeing some weird things out there these days where I'm just wondering if it's, and this is opinion of mine, there's evidently not enough engineers out there right now with the construction. And I think
has there ever been really? I mean, this is apples and oranges. When I used to build ambulances, we did a lot of what we referred to as online engineering, where the engineers bring you a plan of what they want it to look like when it's done and then tell you to figure it out.
Yeah, but this is a little different, especially when it comes to structural and when that's basically life safety involved. I've just been noticing out there that plans are just horrible. They're getting worse, and it's part of our business is dealing with some of the shortfalls and that. But it's the point now where I think they're having a hard time. All these engineering firms getting qualified people into there, and also given the proper amount of time to get everything properly engineered before you start.
Once again, do you think this is technology retarding the education system of that particular? Because let's face it, our high school had engineering drafting class, and it was a lot of paper, pencils, calculators, math, and now you had to do it all in your head, and you had to draw it out. Now it's all done in AutoCAD.
You know what? It could be, and it may not even be an engineering thing. It could be anything from new means and methods to new types of material, or maybe a bad batch of material, But if it's something that's rushed along, these things happen, and it's unfortunate. I think construction deaths and collapses have actually really come down quite a bit.
Oh, sure. I mean,
to see something recently that just kind of makes you think, what's going on?
And you have 2 different things in 2 different states in a similar type of job where, one, you got people crushed by falling floors, and then these people's scaffolding fell apart, and luckily they were strapped in.
Yeah, but it's sad. I a little moment of silence for the people who died. Construction is still dangerous, even though OSHA makes it feel like you can't get your work done. But it's a reminder that, the guys out there building the buildings, they're still taking their lives in their hands. They still got families to go home to. So, when you see these guys, you gotta give them some props. That's still some tough work.
It was like, what, 10 years ago? You were on a job site and a guy dropped a hammer drill off the top of a ladder with a 12-inch bit, and it went through the forearm of the guy standing below him?
Yeah, that was actually way back in 1998.
And instead of backing it out, he just ripped the whole damn thing out of his arm?
Yeah. And
or instead of removing the drill bit from the drill and going to the hospital, he just...
But you know what? I'll go to that guy was back to work that afternoon.
I'd go home.
People are, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, a hammer drill weighs, especially back in 1999.
No, this was actually, it was a DeWalt
Cordless?
12 volt or 18 volt.
Those 18 volts back then were heavy too. I used to sling one all day at the ambulance plant. This is before the lightweight batteries.
Yeah, and the guy who got it dropped on, he really shouldn't have been under the ladder. You know, that's just bad form. But yeah, and I witnessed actually a guy get killed out here when I was working on a job. It was a landscaper.
I remember that. Yeah, he got it involved a bobcat, didn't it?
Yeah, it involved the bobcat. Something was going on, and that bucket came right down.
He came out of the cab, and the safety harness that supposed to shut the thing down didn't engage, and when the bucket lowered, it basically cut him in half, right?
It didn't cut him, it crushed him. It crushed him. I saw him laying there with the bucket on him, and this was like, you know what, there's already a bunch of people over there. I don't need to go. And yeah, it was sad, but you know, I count myself lucky. I used to, you know, stand where I shouldn't on ladders, you know, and I'm talking not short ones either.
Sure.
15 plus footers. But yeah, it's interesting. Man, construction is great work. You just gotta mind your P's and Q's, you know. But that's it. That is all I have for the news and some commentary.
Superior galactic grandma after eating a block of cheese, smoking 3 packs of cigarettes, and drinking a quart of milk. Disgusting, that's the word.
No, it's called the wrong button. And that's our WD410 news desk anchorman, Gordon, from Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you very much, Gordon. And I think that's going to do it pretty much for this episode of the Waterman and D-Train Show. For those of you tuning in, once again, you can always find our podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever fine podcasts are made available. And once again, Dave is not here tonight because I pulled an audible last night due to some internet issues and we couldn't do the show, and he was unable to make it tonight because he had a work gig going on. And so I hope sometime in the last 126 minutes, with all the bullshit and events of things that we said.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
Hopefully found something positive, something to take away and to help enrich your life or lives of those people around you. Because life is short, life is hard. Go out and do the things you need to do to accomplish your dreams, because one day you may wake up dead. Gordon.
I could be followed at Aegis1974 on Instagram. Again, this was supposed to be an abbreviated show, but we never do that.
No, because we're consistently inconsistent. And I know we're a day late and always $1 short, but we do have a steady group of listeners who download every week, and I want to make sure they had some content. And much love to you guys who watch us on YouTube, and you Periscope viewers. Periscope is holding it down. And if you guys haven't done so already, please go to youtube.com and search for Digital 410. I try to put up videos there quite regularly, and Gordon will be sending one here soon. But thank you guys so much for everything, and please go out and sign up for Patreon, do all that stuff. And if you're athletic and you're trying to better your life, go to sleefs.com, sleefs.com. Use promo code D41040. And that'll save you 40% on your purchases. And we will see you guys Sunday at the regular scheduled time. Thanks so much, and take it easy.